So you get to chapter 7, and let's just put this in context. Because in chapter 8, we learned that the number of Midianites is 135,000. So if you just start doing some fun math in your mind, in chapter 7, we start with 32,000 Israelite soldiers to go up against 135,000. If you do the math, it's roughly 1 to 4. So your guys are going to have to take out 4 of their guys in order to break even in this battle. So you're following this so far. But the Lord tells him, verse 2, the people that are with thee are too many for me to give the Midianites into their hands, lest Israel vaunt themselves against me, saying, mine own hand hath saved me. Look how strong we were, 1 to 4, and we won.
Sounds like the Nephites at times in the Book of Mormon.
Yes, it does.
And this is a major theme we get when we finally get to the prophets towards the end of the Old Testament era this year. This is something that Jehovah's constantly telling them. You can't, I did this so you wouldn't be able to say this, guys.
That's right. So then he goes, the Lord tells him to go to the people and say, whosoever is fearful and afraid, let him return and depart early from Mount Gilead. And 22,000 men said, yeah, that's me. I'm out of here. So they left. So we went from 32,000 down to 10,000. So now your odds, just if you're keeping track of the ratio, it's roughly 1 to 13.5, or somewhere between 13 and 14 men that each one of your guys is going to have to take out. And you think, wow, we've just crippled our forces, but we're going to watch God do his work. But verse 4, the Lord said unto Gideon, the people are yet too many. Bring them down under the water, and I will try them for thee there. So what's his little test at the water?
It's kind of weird and arbitrary, which I think is actually the point, is that he has them, they come down, and those that drink the water, just lapping it up, it says like a dog there, put on those, and those ones that bow down and kind of put up their hand, you put them separately. And he says, I'll take the ones that lap up the water with like a dog. And I think the purpose here, again, it seems arbitrary. I think the actual purpose, again, I don't want to read God's mind, but I think what God is doing here is you're more likely to try and drink with your hands than just lap. And so it's going to be the smallest number God can possibly get from this group.
Which now, if you're down to 300 versus the 135,000, now your ratio is somewhere in the ballpark of 1 to 450. I don't know if you can picture in your mind what 450 trained, armed soldiers looks like, but each one from Israel would be responsible. But I think even there, the Lord's making a point. It's not you who's going to destroy them. It's me who's going to deliver you. So it's part of his point here, so that nobody in the future could say, wow, the Israelites are the best fighters ever, because they actually don't really engage as much in the battle. They use this fun technique that the Lord inspires Gideon with to split his men into 3 groups of 100 and go at different parts of the camp of Midian by night with lanterns inside of these pots, and have trumpets. And at his sign, what does he do?
They break the pots and they blow the trumpets and they make this huge noise. And the Midianites first of all, God had sent a bad dream to the Midianites before. And they're like, it's a giant, we're surrounded by this huge army. And it routs them basically without any combat initially. Now, of course, with Gideon, and Gideon's, one of the things I love about the Old Testament is the willingness of the Old Testament to tell a sort of rounded story of its characters. The Old Testament, the Bible in general, the Old Testament in particular, is really okay with telling the whole story. And so Gideon, and there are great things that Gideon does. He delivers them. They kind of want to make him whatever. But then he, in kind of in the middle of 8, he makes an ephod that leads Israel away to, an ephod is, we're not actually entirely sure what it is. It's some kind of sort of priestly image type thing. That's as best as I can. That's a technical term, by the way, guys. Priestly image type thing. But this causes, later on, the Israelites are going to worship it and use it as a probably as simple as Jehovah still, but uses it as a way for unauthorized religious worship. And this is part of the thing, and the message here is Gideon is great, and there's no sense that Gideon's a bad guy, but sometimes things happen that we don't always expect, and that's part of the message of in some ways this entire life.
That's a beautiful reminder, Avram, that it's not that Gideon is perfect and he does everything exactly the way God would have wanted him to do it. He still had his agency, and perhaps there was some missteps along the way here, but let's not hold him hostage to that.
Absolutely not.
We'll
extend to Gideon the same grace that we want people to extend to us. It's kind of my.
Yes. I think in the words of the Savior would be, with whatsoever judgment you judge, therewith shall ye also be judged. It's that idea, or we look at the whole story with eyes wide open, but at the end of the day, we recognize the hand of God in his life working through him. And I hope, we hope we can all do that, not just with each other as well, but also with that person looking at you in the mirror, because you more than anybody know what that person has done wrong, as well as what that person has done right. And perhaps Gideon's story could be another reminder of us to give the benefit of the doubt whenever possible, that let God prevail in our life and recognize the shortcomings,